Saturday, Mystic calling the United States of America, Mystic calling. I've read a lot and listened to a lot about America and the fiscal cliff. Just to tell you that there's a strange thing going on. There seems to be some sort of consensus that, it'll be all right, they won't do anything silly. But when you really get into these bright people chatting and being interviewed, they don't think that they'll do something silly, but they will do something quite drastic. As in, it's not so much a fiscal cliff as a fiscal slide or something like that, but they will go quite a long way down that slide. They will be letting go the Bush tax cuts, the payroll holiday for the normal pay thingy, and quite a few other things. In other words, it's not just going to be a kicking the can down the road exercise, because the Democrats will want to get in early, and if there's going to be any pain from it, to get it out of the way, but also have in their back pocket the fact that they did it, that they are fiscally responsible. The Republicans, to a certain extent, are just going to have to go along. They'll kick up about this, that and the other, and they'll make it bad because they want cuts. Well, you know all that. So there will be some sort of cuts as well. So the question is, can the United States of America stand up to these tax increases? Because one thing that we do know from the last 4 years is there have been trillion-dollar deficits, and the US economy has been little better than blah. Now, has that all just been because of the Great Recession? And are we clear of the Great Recession, so everything should be all right? There was no sign of it, was there really, that the Great Recession thing had gone away? So I don't think there's really any reason to believe that if they go down this fiscal slide thing, it won't take the economy down pro rata with it. So it could take it from 2% down to 1%, 0.5%, something like that. With the hope that there was some sort of motion going on from the last 4 years, that things were picking up, which might pick it back up from that 0.5% to 1.5%. And then if they only find themselves 0.5 or 1% down after doing the fiscal cliffing, everyone will be reasonably happy. That'll be the plan, but something is going to go wrong. Obviously, something always goes wrong. Now, I don't understand, quite frankly, why they don't just cut military spending. I've never had a reasonable explanation of that. It's ridiculously large. You've just stopped 2 wars, so you don't need the money from there. Why doing it? What's the point of all this 11 aircraft carrier battle group, whatever it is and all everything? What is the point of all this military? Is it to protect? Is it to bully? What's it all for? Can't it be done? Couldn't that money be spent better? Some sort of softer power, but using it as power. But it just seems quite a lot of a waste. Anyway, another thing I did want to mention is, because I haven't heard it for a couple of years, is VAT, value added tax. It'll be called something different when it's introduced in the United States, but I think it might pop its head up either in this fiscal cliff conversation or in 2 years' time. So there can be a nice influx of people coming in and demanding that, yes, we'll go for VAT, but we don't want it on food. We don't want it on children's clothing. We don't want it on fuel-efficient cars, etc., etc. So there can be a nice fight and a lot of money coming in for the next election, maybe, or in 2 years' time for the midterms. But I think VAT is something that, strangely enough, the polls that I've seen, the American people go for. They think it's a good idea. Now, the politicians will know that the people think it's a good idea, so could well introduce it. And as always, it'll be introduced at a low level. But then the politicians all know that they can always, like now, just nudge it up a little bit, temporarily, and then that temporarily stays on, and you go from 5%, 10%, 15% to where we are now in Europe at 20 odd percent. So this is just a little video if anybody wants to chat about Democrats and Republicans sorting out the deficit and the fiscal cliff. And my clear, very clear impression is that they are going to go an awful lot further than is generally appreciated. That seems to be what the expert consensus is when they're really pushed on it, that the politicians on both sides have got no reason to kick the can down the road at this stage, and will go in hard, and the US economy is going to take quite a bash from what they decide. Leave it with you. Bye.